Chapter 24. The haze slowly dissipated. Snake opened his eyes to see a dark room highlighted by bits of flame and smoldering brick and steel. He was lying on something hard that was somehow familiar. His sneaking suit had been removed. He was bare-chested, wearing only his skin-tight pants. "Sleeping late as usual, Snake?" Snake's eyes rolled towards the voice. Liquid stood 20 feet away. He too was dressed only in tight pants. "Liquid," Snake groaned. "You're still alive." "I won't die as long as you live," his nemesis announced. Snake rose and supported himself on an elbow. There seemed to be no serious damage to his scarred and bruised body, but he felt as if a gigantic sledgehammer had just pummeled him for a couple of days. "Too bad," he said. "It looks like your revolution was a failure." "Just because you've destroyed Metal Gear doesn't mean I'm done fighting." Snake sat up. "Fighting? What are you really after?" "A world where warriors like us are honored as we once were, as we should be." That was Big Boss's fantasy. It was his dying wish. When he was young, during the Cold War, the world needed men like us. We were valued then. We were desired. But things are different now. With all the liars and hypocrites running the world, war isn't what it used to be. We're losing our place in a world that no longer needs us. A world that now spurns our very existence. You should know that as well as I. It was then that Snake realized where he was. Both he and Liquid were on top of the collapsed body of Metal Gear. Liquid must have dragged him unconscious to what was now the highest point in the maintenance lab. Liquid indicated the fallen wrecks. "After I get our $1 billion, we'll be able to bring chaos and honor back to this world gone soft. Conflict will breed conflict. New hatreds will arise. Then we'll steadily expand our sphere of influence." Snake sighed at the man's deranged viewpoint. "But as long as there are people, there will always be war." "But the problem is balance. Father knew what type of balance was best." "Is that the only reason?" "Isn't it reason enough? For warriors such as us." Snake got to his feet. He had expected to be unsteady, but he seemed to be in full control of his facilities. He had a feeling he was going to need to be. "I don't want that kind of world," he spat. "Ha! You lie! So why are you here then? Why do you continue to follow your orders while your superiors betray you?" "Why did you come here? I'll tell you. You enjoy the killing. That's why." "What?" "Are you denying it? Haven't you already killed most of my comrades?" "That was I watched your face when you did it." Liquid laughed. "It was filled with the joy of battle." Snake shook his head. "You're wrong. There's a killer inside you. You don't have to deny it. We were created to be this way." "Created?" "Les enfants terribles. The terrible children. That's what the project was called. It started in the early 70s. Their plan was to artificially create the most powerful soldier possible. The person they chose as the model was the man known then as the greatest living soldier in the world. Big boss. Liquid was enjoying this. He took a step closer, illustrating his story with hand gestures. But Father was wounded in combat and already in a coma when they brought him in. So they created us from his cells with a combination of 20th century analog cloning and the super baby method. What was this guy talking about? Super baby method? They fertilized an egg with one of Father's cells and then let it divide into 8 clone babies. Then they transferred the clones to someone's uterus and later intentionally aborted 6 of the fetuses to encourage strong fetal growth. You and I were originally octuplets. As Liquid spoke, Snake felt his rage returning. As much as he wanted to believe that the man was lying, he knew that Liquid spoke the truth. The other 6 of our brothers were sacrificed to make us. We were accomplices in murder before the day we were born. Liquid smiled. So it was you and I, 2 fertilized eggs with exactly the same DNA. But they weren't finished yet. Liquid's smile vanished and was replaced by a snarl. They needed me as a guinea pig to create a phenotype in which all the dominant genes were expressed. To create you. I got all the recessive genes. You took everything from me before I was even born. Snake didn't know what to say. He clenched his fists and waited for Liquid to continue. But you and I aren't his only children. What? The genome soldiers. They too are his progeny, carrying on his genetic legacy. But they're different. They're digital. With the completion of the Human Genome Project, the mysteries of humanity were laid bare. Thanks to Father's DNA, they were able to identify more than 60 soldier genes, responsible for everything, from strategic thinking to the proverbial killer instinct. Those soldier genes were transplanted using gene therapy into the members of the next generation special forces. That's how they became the genome soldiers. That's right, Snake. The troopers you've been killing right and left are our brothers too, with the same genes as ours. They are our brothers, created artificially through the alignment of nucleotides to mimic our father's genes. They too are the product of numerous sacrifices. Sacrifices. Human experiments. It was 1991, the Gulf War. The military secretly injected soldiers with the soldier genes. The Gulf War syndrome that hundreds of thousands of returning soldiers complained about was a side effect of it. Snake interrupted. No, everyone knows that Gulf War syndrome was caused by exposure to depleted uranium used in anti-tank rounds. Liquid laughed. That was just a cover story issued by the Pentagon. First, they tried to say it was post-traumatic stress disorder, then chemical or biological weapons, the poison gas detection units, and the anti-sarin injections. They were all just to cover up the secret genetic experiments. So, then the so-called Gulf War babies that have been reported by Gulf War veterans are... Yes, they too are our brothers and sisters. Then the existence of the genome soldiers means that the experiments were a success. Success? Don't be a fool. They're a complete failure. We're on the verge of extinction. What? Have you ever heard of the asymmetry theory? Nature tends to favor asymmetry. Those species which have gone extinct all show signs of symmetry. The genome soldiers suffer from the same problem, signs of symmetry. So do I, as do you. That's right. We're all on the verge of death at the genetic level. We don't know when or what type of disease will occur, but that's why we need the old man's genetic information. Snake replied sarcastically, "You want Big Boss's DNA so you can save your family? That's very touching." In nature, family members don't mate with each other, and yet they help each other survive. Do you know why? It increases the chance that their genes will be passed on to a new generation. Altruism among blood relatives is a response to natural selection. It's called the selfish gene theory. You're telling me that your genes are ordering you to save the genome soldiers. Liquid ignored the dig. You can't fight your genes. It's fate. All living things are born for the sole purpose of passing on their parents' genes. That's why I'll follow what my genes tell me. And then I'm going to go beyond, in order to break the curse of my heritage. Liquid paused and then added quietly, "And to do that, first I will kill you. Look behind you, Snake." Warily, Snake turned to see a body lying on top of the railgun. Red hair, feminine body. "Meryl, is she alive?" "I think so. She was alive a few hours ago. Poor girl kept calling your name." "Stupid woman. Falling in love with a man who doesn't even have a name." "I have a name." "No. We have no past, no future. And even if we did, it wouldn't truly be ours. You and I are just copies of our father, Big Boss." "Let Meryl go." "As soon as we finished our business. We're almost out of time." "You're talking about Foxhound." "No. It seems now that the Pentagon knows Metal Gear was destroyed. They've arrived at a decision. They won't even need a battle damage assessment. If you want the details, why don't you ask your precious Colonel Campbell?" Snake didn't want to do it, but he punched the transmitter on the codec. "Colonel, can you hear me?" "Yes," the man said. "I'm listening." "What is the Pentagon trying to do? Answer me, Colonel." "Secretary of Defense Houseman has taken over active control of this operation. He's on his way here by AWACS." "What for?" "To bomb the facility." "What?" "Not only that, B-2 bombers just lifted off from Galena Air Force Base. They're carrying B-61-13 surface-piercing tactical nuclear bombs." "But Metal Gear is destroyed. Tell Houseman. Tell him." "Houseman heard that Naomi double-crossed us, and he's worried about Foxhound. Now that there's no more danger of a nuclear strike from Metal Gear, he's going to do whatever is necessary to cover up the truth of what really happened. He's going to drop a nuclear bomb to vaporize all the evidence, along with everyone who knows anything." "Don't worry, Snake. I'll stop the nuclear strike." "How?" "I may only be a figurehead here, but I'm still officially in command of this mission. If I issue an order to delay the strike, it'll confuse the chain of command and at least buy you some time. It'll give you a chance to escape." "But Colonel, if you do that..." "It's okay, Snake. The truth is that Foxhound was already the subject of an undercover investigation. Merrill was transferred to the base just before the terrorist attack as a way of manipulating me. Those bastards. Campbell sighed. I'm sorry. They forced me to cooperate in exchange for her life. You'd better get out of there, Snake. Are you sure? It'll be bad for you. Don't worry. It's the least I can do for you after all the lies. Colonel. I'm ordering them to cancel the bombing run. After that, there's no turning back. And Hey, what are you? The codex monitor suddenly went offline. Snake shook it and cursed. After a moment, Mei Ling's distressed face appeared on the screen. Snake! Mei Ling, what happened to the colonel? I don't believe it. What happened? Snake, the colonel! The monitor went blank again from signal interference. Snake cursed a second time and tried to re-establish the frequency, but this time a new face appeared on the codec. Secretary of Defense Jim Houseman. Roy Campbell has been relieved of duty, the man announced. This is Secretary of Defense. I know who you are. Put the colonel back on. He's been placed under arrest for leaking top-secret information and for the crime of high treason. Ridiculous. Yes, he's a ridiculous man. He truly believed that he was in command of this operation. You bastard. Houseman nearly smiled. Snake could sense that the guy was enjoying this. There won't be a speck of evidence left. I'm sure the president would want the same thing. The president ordered this? Snake demanded. The president is a busy man. I have complete authority here. How do you plan on explaining a nuclear attack on Alaska to the media? Oh, we've prepared a very convincing cover story. We'll simply say that the terrorists exploded a nuclear device by accident. You'll be murdering everyone here. The scientists, the Genome Army, everyone. Donald Anderson, the DARPA chief, is already dead. So, you didn't mean to kill him after all. He was my friend. And you could care less about what happens to everyone else, huh? Well, if you give me the optic disc, I might consider saving them. What are you talking about? Metal Gear's test data. Anderson was supposed to bring it back. Baker had it. I don't have it. Houseman squinted. He wasn't sure if Snake was telling the truth. Fine, never mind. You and your brother are an embarrassment from the 1970s. Our country's dirty little secret. You can't be allowed to live. Alas. The bombs will be dropping soon, and I'm sure you two have a lot of catching up to do. Farewell. With that, the codec went dead. Snake looked up at Liquid, whose expression indicated that he had expected everything that had just been said. There's no way out for us, Liquid remarked. Let's finish this before the airstrike. He pointed a finger at Snake and shouted, You stole everything from me. Only your death can satisfy me. Only your death can return to me what is rightfully mine. He indicated Merrill and continued, She'll make a beautiful sacrifice for our final battle. Do you see what's next to her? Snake turned again. This time he noticed the black box with the wires leading from it and wrapped around her chest. The device was obviously on a timer. "That's the time limit for our final battle," Liquid announced. "If you win, you might be able to save her. You could enjoy one brief moment of love before the end." He then gestured towards the edge of the platform on which they were standing. "And if you cross this line, you'll fall. At this height, it'll kill even you." Snake inched towards the edge and looked down. Metal Gear wasn't on its feet, but the height was still considerable. He could easily break his back if he fell. Liquid lifted his fists and assumed an antagonistic position. "Let's go, brother. The bell has rung and it's time to enter the ring." Snake lifted his fists as well, so it was to be hand-to-hand combat. Snake was unaware of Liquid's abilities in that regard, but Liquid also didn't know that Snake had been Master Miller's top pupil in the hand-to-hand class. The two men circled each other with their eyes locked on each other's. As they were both trained to blot out extraneous noises and distractions, they were no longer standing on top of the broken mech. They were in a boxing ring. The only differences were that there were no audience, and instead of rope barriers there was nothing, only a step off to certain doom. Liquid took the offensive by moving in and rapidly striking Snake in the face. The man was so fast that Snake barely had time to attempt a block. He did that, but Liquid's fists still connected with his jaw. Snake retreated a step and let Liquid advance, a ploy he had used to turn defense into offense. As Liquid leaned in for the punch, Snake kicked out his right leg and slammed it into his sternum. The Foxhound renegade felt the blow and stumbled backward. Snake didn't stop there. He continued to advance, utilizing his trademark 1-2-3 punch-punch-kick combination. But Liquid had a few moves of his own that surprised Snake. The man had a nasty uppercut that Snake couldn't manage to block. They continued to spar for several minutes, delivering and accepting punishment in what seemed to be an essentially even match. It wasn't long before both opponents could anticipate what the other man would do. The fight was evidently a draw. Snake knew that he had to get Merrill and Otacon and get the hell out of there before the bombers arrived. There was no time to waste. He aggressively moved forward, spun his body, and attempted a roundhouse kick, but Liquid grabbed his ankle, twisted it, and threw Snake to the platform. Before Snake could roll out of the way, Liquid was on him, kicking him in the ribs. The pain was immense, particularly after everything else Snake had endured, but he forced himself to ignore it and grasp Liquid's calf to stop the kicking. Liquid pulled hard to free himself, but Snake held on tightly. Finally, Liquid lost his balance and fell, allowing Snake to jump on top of him. He pummeled his brother with a succession of right-left power punches that would knock out an ordinary man after the first blow. But Liquid lay there and took it. Only when Snake paused to determine the level of damage he was inflicting did Liquid expertly throw Snake off him. Snake tumbled to the edge of Rex's platform, tried to stop himself from sliding, and slipped off the edge. He grabbed whatever he could, which was the lip of the platform that served as Rex's flat head. Snake hung there, holding on for dear life, as he tried to swing his legs back up to safety. Liquid stood and appeared over him. "Goodbye, brother," he said as he lifted a foot and pressed it on Snake's right hand. He began to grind the ball of his foot into Snake's fingers, producing an excruciating wave of torment that escalated up the arm. Snake had to let go. Snake hung by one hand, desperately searching for a handhold beneath the lip. Then Liquid shifted his foot to Snake's left hand and began to press. With his free right hand, Snake stretched and grabbed Liquid's lower calf. He then pushed his thumb as hard as possible into the soft, sensitive area below Liquid's bony ankle, the Achilles heel. The tissue there was aptly named, for Liquid screamed in pain and released his foot. Snake was then able to use both hands to pull himself up and back onto the top of the mech. "Damn you!" Liquid shouted. He rushed at his opponent, but Snake sidestepped him, held both fists together, and smashed them into Liquid's lower back. The oomph that Liquid uttered informed Snake that the blow had been painful and might have damaged the man's kidneys. Liquid staggered forward, trying to stabilize the agony, but Snake raised a knee hard into his throat. He then grabbed Liquid's long golden hair and pulled up the man's head. Snake made a fist, drew it back, and drove it fiercely into his brother's face. Liquid staggered backward to the edge of the platform. His feet caught on the lip and his eyes grew wide. He waved his arms in that awkward, ridiculous gesture of people who lose their balance, and then opened his mouth to scream. His eyes found Snake's and pleaded silently for help. Snake had a sudden inclination to reach out and save his brother, but at the last second chose not to do so. Liquid cried out as gravity took over and the Foxhound terrorist toppled over the side. The heavy thud from below indicated that no protruding ledge on Rex had broken the fall. Snake approached the edge and looked down. Like a ragdoll, Liquid's body lay motionless on the lab floor. Snake then turned his attention to Meryl. He ran to her side and examined the time bomb that was strapped to her body. "Meryl!" He lightly touched her face and gave it a gentle slap. "Meryl, wake up!" She moaned and moved. She was alive. "Meryl!" Oh, Snake." Her voice was hoarse. Her eyes flicked open and tried to focus on him. "Snake." "Meryl." Snake, you're alive! Thank God!" "Don't move. I have to get this off you." She gasped when she felt the wires. "Stay perfectly still." Snake punched the codec. "Nastasha, are you there?" Romanenko answered. "Yes, Snake." Snake held his wrist so that an image of the bomb could be transmitted over the codec. "Do you see this?" "Yes." "How do I get it off her?" "It appears to be a timed explosive. Is there a digital readout? How much time do you have?" "I don't know," Snake said. "There's no LED." "All right. I recognize the type of fuse. Listen closely. You see 4 colored wires, yes? The image on the codec is not clear, so I can't tell what colors they are." Snake pointed. "This one's red, this one's blue, these are green and yellow." "Okay, don't touch the blue one. I want you to gently remove the green wire from the connector to the box. Try not to let the end touch any of the other wires." Snake did so. "Now you need to short out the box. Do you have a chaff grenade?" "Yes." "You'll need to explode it right there. Tell Meryl to cover her face. There's no detonation, but some of the particles from the grenade could hurt her eyes." "Did you hear that?" he asked Meryl. "Uh-huh." Snake looked around the platform and noticed for the first time that his sneaking suit had been discarded near her body. He grabbed it and wrapped it around her head. He opened his pouch, removed a chaff grenade, and set it next to the bomb. "Are you sure this will do it, Nastasha?" "Trust me, Snake. If you had left the green wire attached, it would have set off the bomb. But now the chaff grenade will disarm the bomb's sensory system, like it does on cameras. If you say so. He pulled the pin and stepped back several feet. The thing went off noisily, and Merrill yelped. Snake quickly moved back to her and pulled the garment off her face. "Hi," she said. "Thanks, Nastasha." Snake ended the transmission and then leaned in to kiss Merrill, but he only gave her a peck on the lips. In response, she enveloped his head with her arms and held him there. Snake had to push himself off. "Merrill, there's no time for that. Let me get those wires off you." As he did so, he could hear the faint sound of airplanes. Since they were underground, there was no way to know how close they were. Then there was a distant explosion. "Damn, the bombing's already started." He helped Merrill to her feet. The gunshot wounds had been treated and bandaged expertly, but she was in no shape to fight or run. Merrill, are you okay?" "Are you okay? Is that all you can say?" He pursed his lips and then said, "Merrill, it must have been terrible." "It wasn't that bad. I didn't give in to the torture." "You were tortured?" "And things worse than that." She put a hand to his mouth to keep him from speaking. "But I was fighting too, just like you." He shook his head. "You're a strong woman." "Fighting there made me feel closer to you. I felt like you were there with me. It gave me the strength to go on, but I was scared." "I'm sorry, Merrill." "Don't say that." "I tried to." "But it made me realize something. During all the pain and shame, there was one thing I was sure of. A single hope that I held on to, and that hope kept me alive." Tears welled in her eyes as she continued. "Snake, I wanted to see you again." "Merrill." The codec beeped. It was Otacon. "Snake, it looks like you stopped Rex." "Otacon, good news. Merrill's okay." "All right." "But I've got some bad news too. We're about to be bombed." "I can hear it. I guess we're considered expendable." "Is there a way out of here?" "A way out? Yeah. You can take the loading tunnel to the surface. There's a parking garage right next to you. The tunnel leads from there to the surface." Snake looked down from the mech and studied the wreckage around the lab. "You mean the door in front?" "No, it's a small entrance to the west of that door." "How about security?" "I just unlocked it. Who do you think you're talking to?" "What are you going to do?" "Me? I'll stay here." "Otacon, this is a hardened shelter, but they're going to use a surface-piercing nuclear bomb. It won't hold." "I'm through regretting my past. Life isn't all about loss, you know." "Otacon, don't be an idiot." There was a pause before Dr. Emmerich continued. "Okay, Snake. I'm a complete person now. I found a reason to live. I'll meet you at the underground bunker. It's just next to the loading tunnel's entrance on the surface. At least we can try to save the hostages." "Can you make it on your own?" "I can sure try. Good luck." "Thanks." "Thanks? Wow, that sounds kinda nice." He signed off. "What's he doing?" Merrill asked. "He's fighting right now, with his old self, to be the man he wants to be." "He's fighting for us too?" "Yeah, and I don't want it to be in vain." There was another explosion, this time closer. "It looks like we don't have time for a love scene," he said. "Too bad. We have to go, huh?" He took Meryl's hand and helped her down the pile of rubble once known as Metal Gear. Snake stopped momentarily to gaze upon the body of his brother. Liquid lay in a puddle of blood, showing no signs of life. The guy did resemble him. They shared distinctive physical characteristics, such as the cruel, snarling mouth that women found irresistible. "Shouldn't we go?" Meryl asked. "Yeah," Snake muttered. They turned and left the terrible evidence of what Snake had suspected and feared his entire life. Even when he was a child, he had acknowledged the fact that he was different from others his age. He was already sufficiently distinguished from his contemporaries in that he did not know his parents and had grown up with and been educated by a variety of foster teachers. And he'd been training to be a soldier since early childhood. But none of that had bothered Snake. It was something else. He never felt normal. It was as if he was some kind of alien in a world full of human beings. Now he knew why.